Opinions expressed on Lifeguards Off Duty are those of its hosts and guests exclusively. They do not represent any entity, organization, or municipality.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Michael Kachmar.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Sean.
And this is Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Kachmar, the Jersey Shore #1 lifeguard-themed video podcast.
Watch us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook Live. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever streaming service you prefer.
If you would like to contact us, send an email to drkachmar@icloud.com. Follow us on Instagram at lg.association.
All right, let's get started.
Let's start the show.
Let's do it.
She said they're gonna lock you up for killing me tonight. And then I bit her lip just a little bit harder. Well, I was so sure it wasn't real. But she's afraid of ghosts, now I'm sleeping in her room.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Kachmar. That was fast. We're still working on our technical stuff here. Anyway, welcome to Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Kachmar. Today's date is March 29th, the year of our Lord 2022. Thank you for tuning in. We are here and from our studios in Toms River, New Jersey on a brisk, cool, cold Tuesday afternoon. Introduce you to Tyler. Tyler, you want to say
What's
hello?
up, everybody? How's
Get
everyone
your
doing?
bottle of Poland Springs out of the way there.
Oh, come on.
Thanks. Yeah, but he does the camera. Anyway, so go ahead. Good to see you. I
we
like your
ready?
lifeguard shirt.
Are we just skipping right to the guest introduction?
Well, yeah. Just you want to say about where we are, who we are.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll do a little bit of that first. We are Lifeguards Off Duty. Anyone who's listening to that probably already knows that. You can follow us on Instagram at lg.association. Shoot us an email if you have any questions at drkachmar@icloud.com. If you want to come on the show, you can reach out there too. I'm Tyler. There's my name right there. If you want to find out about Dr. Kachmar's medical services, check out JerseyShoreFootAndLegCenter.com. You can find everything you need to know about your foot and leg and ankle needs there. And if you want to call in live to the show, you can do this at any time while we're live. Our phone number is 732-237-4949. You can call us there. And yeah, we have a special guest today. You might recognize him. Last time we caught up with him was at the Polar Bear Plunge. So if you watched that video that we made about that, you would have seen our guest do an interview there. His name is Nick Farrell of the Seaside Heights Fire Department Water Rescue Team. So yeah, Kat, you want to switch the camera over to our guest?
Hey, Nick.
Hey,
So
how
that's
are you?
Nick. So
good
Nick,
to see you.
Good to see you guys.
let's just jump right into it.
Sure.
How long have you been part of the Seaside Heights Fire Department Water Rescue Team? What is your role and how did you get your start?
All right, so I've been a part of the fire department since I could pretty much remember. My dad started actually and got me into it when I was younger. I was pretty much coming around the fire department since I was like 10, 12 years old. And then I started finally getting into it around 16 when you could become eligible for a junior. So I started around, like 16 years old, and that's when I got involved with not only the fire department, but in the ocean rescue team as well. So that was really good, and, with my previous history of being a lifeguard down in Berkeley and all that, it was, a great start for me, and it was definitely something different that I could really, just kind of hook and really get into, because there's a lot of great guys, and we're a whole family there, and that's something that I've always kind of craved. It's just to have that kind of camaraderie and have that, kind of family aspect to it and kind of going into crazy situations together. So it was always kind of something that caught my eye. So I've been doing this now for like 5 years. I've been a full-time firefighter now for, 5 years with, volunteer-wise. When I say full-time, it's like, But, so I've been a volunteer firefighter for like around 5 years now. And I was just appointed captain of the ocean rescue team not too long ago.
Oh, wow.
Which is good.
Can I ask you a question? So you said that there's two components.
Yes.
And I educate me and the audience.
Sure.
So you have the volunteer fire department.
Yes.
Number one. And so one question there, is there any full-time or everybody's part-time or volunteer? And then you have a secondary entity, which is the ocean rescue.
Yes.
So my question would be then, explain the two differences, and then is everybody in ocean rescue on the fire department, or so if you have two entities, it must be, is everybody shared a specialty, or only certain people go for the ocean rescue? How does that divvied up?
Yeah, so it's all divvied up. Is like when you join the fire department, you're actually joining as a firefighter.
Right.
So, and that's what ocean rescue is, a select process. And we have certain regulations that everybody goes through to try out for the ocean rescue team. So everybody could be a firefighter there. That's pretty much the main reason why a lot of people join, is to, do the fire service. And a lot of people actually don't know about the ocean rescue side of it until they're actually, joined up and they're like, oh, wow, you actually have a water rescue team too. And then we'll go into, process of elimination to where
You have to qualify for
it. Yeah,
it.
you do have to qualify. Yeah. So, like I said, you know what I mean? Like, not everybody's going to, be a rescue swimmer. Not everybody's going to be a jet ski driver or a boat operator or anything like that. But there's a job for everybody. So we encourage everybody that's not only on our fire side to come over to the water side, because we always need help with something. And you know what I mean? So whether it's lifting or lifting skis because they're so heavy, like we were talking about before. So there's a job. Yeah. So there's a job for everybody when it comes to it. So,
what kind of tests do you have to pass to become part of the water rescue team?
So there's a vigorous amount of tests that we like to get into. So like one is like, we like to ask people like, have you ever swam before? Like, have you ever swam in a pool? Or are you more experienced in the ocean? So like, because a lot of people don't really understand the difference between ocean swimming and then pool swimming. You know what I mean? So like,
big difference.
Huge difference. So, you know what I mean? So
well, I don't know. Somebody comes and wants to work for you guys, and they don't know the difference between a pool and an ocean. I don't know if I'd hire them.
Yeah.
I think that would be the first.
Yeah, because
that would be the first weaning of the herd right there.
Sure, yeah. So like, I mean, there's a huge there's always that like, oh yeah, I was a swimmer in school and this, that, whatever, pool swimming, this, that. So I was like, all right, there's a difference, right? So like, oh, how hard could it be? I was like, all right, well, let's so yeah, we'll do like they're required to do like a 400 to 500 yard swim.
Okay.
As well as treading water for more than 15 to 20 minutes, and that's with a life vest, and then without a life vest, we'll so because every time we go on a rescue, we'll either have we have PPE, which we call is like proper protective equipment and all that kind of stuff. So we all have life vests and helmets, which are Coast Guard certified.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, which is nice. You know what I mean? Because we're operating jet skis, boats, this, that, whatever. So it's a little bit more of a safety procedure more than anything.
But, I just quick story. When I worked down in the Caribbean for years and years, and there's an entity down there. I want to say it's Visor, I think it is.
Yeah.
And so it same kind of thing. And I was down there working for 10 years. So I tried to, I got involved in it, and I'm a lifeguard. I mean, when we make a rescue, I jump in the water with a can. I don't have a life vest on. I have nothing on, right? So these guys wanted me to wear all this friggin' equipment, and I'm like, listen, I don't need this. And you can't. You have to wear it. You have to wear it. And then we had this thing where there's people caught in this like bubbly pool. It's called like the ocean. The waves are coming in, and I jumped in with all that shit.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, it's hard.
Yeah.
And I understand why you want to wear it, but also it's a challenge. What I did is I ripped it all off and I dove in.
I don't blame you.
And
that's how I was when I first started too. I was like, oh, what is this vest? Like, because I guard on the beach. I'm used to nothing. So I'm like, hey, listen, but
it definitely is a learning curve.
It was definitely a learning
So,
curve, 100%. Yeah.
What are the advantages to wearing the PPE?
The advantages of wearing the PPE is nice, because not only do you have a little bit more of alleviation in the water, especially wearing like a swimmer's vest or a rescue vest, like I call it rescue vest. So like it gives you a little bit more buoyancy in the water, which is nice. And I always have like a fin belt on me with some fins too. So it's nice to have that. You know what I mean? Just that little bit extra of an advantage, just in case you get tired or something like that. Like, you're gassed out midway through a rescue if you have a multi-rescue situation. So it's something that is definitely able to help you in the long run if you have to tread water for a long period of time. We're out there in the ocean, this, that, whatever. If we're 100, 200 yards out doing something, it's nice to have like a rescue vest on you. That way you can kind of rely on that a little bit. which is nice. So it's always an advantage to have a little bit more protective equipment on you.
Well, you guys always, I see that, but times I've seen you guys out there, you all have wetsuits on too. Is that everybody pretty much?
For the most part, like
thin suit maybe. You know.
like in the summer, if I have time to grab it, I will. If not, like I always have like a rescue top. It's kind of optional for us. Like if depending on how cold the water is, if it's a little chilly, throw on maybe like a 3-2 or like a short sleeve full. You know what I mean? So it's all kind of like depending on if you have time to grab it, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. But like I always try to, like I have all my stuff, and like we have a whole ocean rescue locker divided in our fire department strictly for water rescue. So it's nice to kind of like run in there really quick, grab all your stuff right then and there. And then usually we're getting ready in the truck.
Yes. So that's funny that you brought that up, because last week when we had Jack Gramlich from, where's he, Spring Lake?
Spring Lake, yeah.
From Spring Lake's water rescue team here, he pointed out something that I found really interesting, and that was that, because he's seen this from the perspective of a firefighter doing this and from the perspective of a lifeguard.
Sure.
And a police officer.
Sure,
and one of the main difference he pointed out is that a water rescue team is working from a point of like a reactionary point.
100%.
And as an ocean rescue lifeguard, like what you're doing is more proactive, right? You're trying to stop these situations from having. So what I wanted to ask you to do is walk me through like the moment that someone notices that someone's in trouble to the moment you get the call to getting ready to like going on the rescue. Like what does that whole process look like for you?
Yeah, sure. So the process is it feels like forever. Let me tell you, it feels like forever of a process, because by the time we get tapped out on our phones or pagers or this, that, whatever, it all has to go through the county first.
So by the time you get the call, you already know that it's been several minutes that this person's been in trouble.
Could have been several minutes. They could have caught it within a minute or two, but they still have to make, so the initial first part of it is that somebody calls 911 for it, right? So after they call 911 for it, it goes to county, which then county types it in their computers.
Nick, can you just explain to people? So when you say county,
Yeah.
that means so it's if the event is happening in La Valette, which is one beach, or Seaside Heights, which is another beach, and somebody calls it in, a bystander, or even the police, or it doesn't go to that local town. When you say county, people don't know. It goes across. It goes about 10 miles away to or even farther away. So I just want everybody in the audience to know that. So
it goes to the Ocean County Sheriff's Office, which is my full-time job, actually. I forgot
Okay,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. So I actually work for the Sheriff's Department full-time.
Okay, so they get it, and then they got to disseminate it out.
Yeah. So they disseminate it out. They head out the proper fire departments for it, or whoever it is. So if it's in our jurisdiction, which is either Seaside Heights, Seaside Park, La Valette, Ocean Beach, Ortley Beach, and all of South Seaside Park and Island Beach as well. And
that's a lot of.
It's a lot of ground to cover.
That's what are you looking at? Let me see. State Park, is it what? How?
So
State Park's like 10 miles.
8 miles, 10
to 13 miles down in Island Beach State Park.
Another 4 or 5 miles. I mean, no, how far? Yeah. So what are you looking at? 20 miles?
Yeah, 20, 30 miles of beach. Yeah. So So like I said, we'll get the initial call from 911. County will head us out, and then pretty much once we see swimmer in distress, it's game on. So the first thing that's personally going through my head is we call it a size up in the fire department, whether it's on ocean rescue or fire service. You're always going to do your size up of, like, say you're going to a house.
We used to do that in the Bamboo Bar back in the day when I was in college. Just want to let you know.
Yeah. So we do, So we do a size, right? So we'll do. I like to call it, a size up.
I like that terminology.
Yeah. So you do a size up of your situation. So when I'm, I'm running out of my house, probably only have board shorts on most of the time in the summer, at least. You know what I mean? Because I know I'm going in the water anyway and get wet. So by the time I'm in my car and driving to the firehouse, I'm already trying to run through my scenarios of possibly, by how much information we have, because not a lot of, 9 times out of 10, we don't have a lot of information, because county can only put in so much of what's going on, especially if the caller is difficult. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't know. If it's, looks like could be in trouble, might not be in trouble. So there's a lot of gray areas in that factor. So I'm always trying to mitigate scenarios and kind of see, okay, which one, all right, maybe I got 2 people in the water. How many people do you think, do you think that maybe somebody went out and tried to maybe go rescue them themselves. Maybe we have another person out there too. So it's always kind of a situation of trying to, excuse me, trying to get that understanding of maybe what's going on the beach before you're even getting there and before I'm even getting to the firehouse. So by the time I get to the firehouse, you know, guys will start coming in. We'll all start be getting our stuff, this, that, whatever. And by that time, I have a personal radio on me too. So I'm listening, like looking for updates, this, that, whatever. If I have to, I'll call county, be like, hey, listen, like, you know, do we have any updates? Do you still have the caller on the line? Can they still see them? You know, so that all kind of goes into effect as I'm getting to the firehouse, depending on what kind of information that I have. By the time I get to the firehouse, it's either, you know, it's going to be an expedited response, which is like, you know, they're in the water and they got minimal time. So it's like, you know, expedite that response. So it's, you know, and I'm always, you know, telling my guys this, that, whatever, like, listen, let's step it up, get ready in the truck, get your stuff, get in the truck, we'll get ready in the truck, and let's get on the road because we got, you know, depending on where we're going, we got a little bit.
Let me ask, can you put the comments on to see if anybody's on that? I don't want to interrupt you, but
No,
so much great stuff. I'll forget if I don't ask you now.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Does everybody who is on your water rescue team live like if they're on call, they have to be in town? Like is there?
So we're pretty much. I mean, you could say that we're on call 24 hours a day. So especially in the summer, we get a lot of local. Like all the guys that are running water are for the most part local.
So they're there.
Yeah, they're there pretty much all day. If not, you know what I mean, they're around the area doing stuff, hanging out, this, that, whatever. So they all live in town or live in, like, you know, Lavalette or Orly Beach or South Seaside Park. So they're pretty close.
Right. So but when you have when you have this though, you know, you have a truck obviously and equipment.
Right.
Is there a phased response? In other words, whoever gets there's certain people going to get there first. Is there, like, say, once 5 guys are there, you shoot, go, and then everybody else could meet you there? Like, how does that? I'm interested how that mechanics of it works.
Yeah. So absolutely. So so usually what will happen, just like on the fire side, the chief will respond directly to the scene. So
won't go with any equipment. He'll just go with his whatever.
Correct, yeah, and the chief's truck is outfitted as well with some rescue equipment as well.
So he's got that all the time, or she's got whoever
correct,
it is.
Okay. So he's got some stuff in his truck as well, like an extra can, torp, you know, all that kind of stuff, just in case. There's been situations where myself and my dad have gone straight to the call. Because I carry a torp in the back of my car as well as a couple other rescue things as well, just in case I'm in the area. And I'm like, hey, listen, it would make no sense for me to go all the way back to the firehouse to come all the way back. You know what I mean? Just to kill some of that time, especially if it's like a expedited situation where we have like 2-3 people in the water and they're already starting to kind of go under. Is, you know, I have the ability to, you know what I mean, just go right to the call. Normally we like to just go straight to the firehouse, get our equipment, get all our stuff straight, and then go. But yeah, so the chief will get there first. And then that way he'll create a little bit better of a picture for us.
Right.
And then he'll relay a whole bunch of information as soon as he gets there. So as soon as he gets there, he'll take command of the operation and then delegate us on what we need to do, where we need to go, and what's the best beach access points, and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Right. And how do you guys communicate? Like, you guys all, so people who are at their house, do they all have scanners or radios?
Yep,
or,
they could hear us. Yeah.
So when I go, so you guys take off, you got your radios, like we have on a beach, you know, we have the Motorola radios.
Yep.
And then that, so you're in communication, you'll say, yeah, bring the cavalry, or no, it's a false.
Depending on the situation, the chief might say, like, you know, okay, you could hold the units in quarters, which is like holding us. We could stay in quarters. Everybody's out of the water, this, that, whatever. Usually we don't really do that on the water side, only because of, like, you know, the aftermath of, you know, somebody going in the water, whether or not they took in water, how much water they took in, secondary drownings could come into effect.
Right, injuries.
You know, injuries, all that kind of stuff. So we like to roll everything to water calls. We don't like to hold anything really on water calls because of the manpower issues. If, you know, if our chief needs help doing something, or if, you know, if they're still kind of, you know, dazed, this, that, whatever, we have the equipment to go on the beach. We could transport a patient that's taking some water, can barely walk. You know what I mean? We could throw them in the back of the truck, take them up to the ambulance on, you know, on the street side, whatever we really need to do. So it's always a vital thing to always kind of send units to water calls. Yeah.
You want to show somebody some of the
Yeah, I
stuff?
pulled up some
Let's
pictures
take a look
of
at
your
some of
guys'
this while
equipment
we're
here.
yeah. Let's take a look at them here. So
Yeah.
if people could go on our podcast. You got to check our screen, and wow, that's some nice equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Can you make that one bigger?
Yeah, I can make
That's actually the pickup truck. Actually, that's an older look.
Oh, really? Yeah.
We've modified it since then. We don't have the ski on top of the pickup anymore. We actually have a dual trailer system now, which is nice, and we have 2 skis on one trailer, and which that pickup carries. So that truck's called 4426, and then that van that you see to the top left as well, that's 4406, which carries the Zodiac boat as well as another additional ski.
So
They're all 4-wheel drive, obviously.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
this Zodiac's badass, dude.
Yeah, that's the Zodiac. Yeah.
That's what you have out front, Catch?
Yeah, I have a 15-foot AB rib with a 70 horsepower.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, I could, but it is too. It is bigger is not better, and sometimes you want to have something. I mean, I want to. That you can move around and twist around in the wash and
Sure.
and lighter. I tell you, but they're great. Well, I use them down in the Caribbean, and they're unbelievable. You could go. First of all, my 15-foot rib, I could have 15 people on it.
Oh, they're great.
And you could do crazy stuff with it.
Oh, 100%.
What would you say you use more, Nick, the Zodiac or the jet skis?
Jet skis, 100%. Jet skis are our biggest asset when it comes to ocean rescue. If we have to use the boat, we will. But jet ski is a definite, one of the primary things that we use in ocean rescue. It is fast. It is reliable. It could go through anything. It's a fantastic piece of apparatus that we use pretty much 9 times out of 10 on all of our rescues.
Yeah, so you actually, I think you just answered my next question because I was going to ask if you could have one piece of equipment to do the job with, what would it be?
Oh, 100% the jet ski.
Jet ski.
The jet ski all the way. Yeah, 100%. That thing has saved not only my life 100 times, but a lot of other people too. That thing makes a difference, and it's fantastic.
What kind of training do you guys do with that?
So we depending on if they're just starting off or if they're more senior to the jet ski, we like to take them out. And you know how summer is. So like summer is like, little bit lower density swells. Sometimes it can be like a lake in the ocean. So it's nice to kind of start the new guys off in conditions like that. And then as the season progresses, as people get a little bit more comfortable, we'll start taking the skis out because we drill in anything. And the bigger days are our best days to drill. You know what I mean? So like when the nor'easters coming in the summer and you got, 5 to 10 foot swells, that's when we really utilize the jet skis and really take them out into some heavy stuff and really start to exercise them. And, which is nice. So we like to cover the more inside areas, more of like the break zones and all that kind of stuff, or impact zones, to really get into some hairy situations with some of the newer guys to kind of have them understand this is like reality almost of the ocean, and the ocean will always win. So
it's one thing I tell every rookie I sit with. Don't ever think you get it.
No.
Don't ever sit up there and look at the ocean and say, I got this.
Yeah. The way that we train and the way that we operate is we always go into our training sessions like it's an actual rescue. We never try to slack off and this, that, whatever. We always try to give 110% into our training operations, because when we know when push comes to shove and somebody's actually out there, it's seconds that count.
Yeah.
Not minutes, not, not hours.
Yeah.
It's seconds that count. Yeah, 100%.
The thing that, and people who are listening to us, they may go, well, how do you know? And we all know in this table here, we all know, we can predict with a high level of certainty when the water is going to be bad. We want to do a show on that because I want to do a show called Bad Water. We know that there's days where you don't need a lifeguard, you don't need a fire department, you don't need nothing. Nobody's going to drown. I mean, it's very hard. I mean, it's so calm. But there's other days where the water is deadly, and it may not look any different to the common person. And so that's why I know you guys, and we will have our resources concentrated on those days and ready to go. But I'm going to ask you about the rescue of somebody. There's 2 things I wanted to have you comment on. If a town or somebody wants to put something together, with the police department, the lifeguards, and the fire department. But when you make a rescue on the ski, do you guys do you send like 3 people out on a ski? I don't know how big your skis are. Like, how do you? Because how do you work that? It's just interesting. I mean, everybody does it differently. There's no necessarily, but I was just wondering what you guys.
Yeah, so I'll run it through the process. So like, if we're say going to a water call and this, that, whatever, and we're in the truck and we're all making that size up together.
Right.
We're trying to understand our options of, okay, our plan of attack, pretty much. So, all right, how are we going to do this? Okay, so how far are they out? And so once we get to the beach and we kind of assess our situation right then and there, we're already looking for the victim, right? So as soon as we have, say, eyes on the victim and he's like, say, past the break, it's obviously going to be a ski rescue right off the bat. So we're like, because it's going to take more time for us to take a board out, maybe paddle it out. You might get some backlash with, some swell coming in. So obviously it's going to be a ski rescue. You know what I mean? It's going to be a ski rescue, 100%. So we're going to be like, okay, you know what I mean? We're going to launch the ski. I want you to, you're going to be the operator. You're going to be the swimmer. So it's going to be 2 people on the ski.
Okay.
Which is going to be an operator, and then you're going to have your swimmer.
Yeah.
And then they'll, and then we all coordinate. We'll get the ski off the trailer, this, that, whatever, hook it all up, whatever we need to do. And then we'll roll it right into the water and go to work.
Now, on a scenario where there's a unconscious victim, let's just say you come up to the scene, and say there's a lifeguards out there, or somebody, and they're holding up this person, and they're obviously floating. They're incapacitated. Okay. And how would you approach that from your guys' perspective?
So if from the beach, do we know that they're unconscious?
Yeah, you could. I mean, you could see it. It's obvious. I mean, they might be 100 yards out, but you got the lifeguard out there. This guy's just floating.
Sure.
He's trying to hold them up.
Yeah. Immediately go into effective. It's an obvious expedited response. We'll get the ski out there. We will, if we don't, for some reason, already know that he's unconscious, because you might not be able to see it well because of oncoming swell. You might see a head here, a head there, all that. So what we'll do is we'll send an operator and a swimmer out. We'll assess the situation right when we get down there, and we'll assess the patient. First thing is patient assessment. We'll get a swimmer in the water with the patient, and then he will relay then to the operator whether he's unconscious, whether he's not unconscious. And the operator is probably going to know already what's going on. So then what we'll do is, if he is unconscious, like you said, we'll do a 3 pumps to the beach, or a continuous pump to the beach, which lets the spotters know on the beach, because we have spotters as well as other swimmers ready to go just in case something were to go wrong, that we could have more guys come out and assist the situation. So once they see the multiple pumps, or the 3 pumps, they know to get the AED ready, as well as the med kit ready. That way, once we get to the beach, we could start that life resuscitation process if needed. So we'll have the AED ready. We'll have, the bags ready, and everything ready to go by the time we bring the victim to the beach.
What advice would you give people? I mean, I like binoculars. When you ask, can we see? I think binoculars are such a underrated, cheap tool to use.
They are so vital.
Right, but what about when you got a 250-pound unconscious victim? Mm-hmm. How do you get them on the sled? I mean, just give me some, because everybody, I talk about this, and we had one down in La Valette, they're unconscious. Mm-hmm. You got a guy who's driving the jet ski. You got it's most likely big ocean. The wind's blowing. Yep. That's another whole thing. Know how to ride the jet ski, put it into the wind, all of that kind of stuff. But is there any advice you could give me or us or the audience? How do you hump that? Better words. Get them onto the and hold them on there.
Yeah, 100%.
You lay on top of them. I mean, 250 pound, 300.
It's a big dude.
These are you got a lot of these. I mean, they're out there.
100%. Yeah.
So
I've personally made rescues where there's been bigger people where they've been unconscious or this, that, whatever.
I mean, you do bungee them down? I mean, like what? So tell me, give me some advice, because that's a.
It is, it definitely is. It's definitely one of those kind of dreaded situations, but it's something that
we're gonna see. Unfortunately, we're gonna see more of it.
100%. So what we train, one of our biggest training procedures is victim care, and how we get them on the sled correctly and all that. So if you're talking about like a 250-pound victim and this, that, whatever, we actually have a training method where the driver and operator will depend, and this is all depending on swell and where the victim actually is. Sure. So we actually have a method and a rescue method that we train with all season is when the operator will actually disembark from the top of the ski and come down to the sled and come into the water with the rescue swimmer, and then they will both assist the victim and slide him up the sled. And then the rescue swimmer will then get on top of the victim and then do a leg lock with their legs.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and if it's an unconscious victim, we'll usually have them back to the sled. So that way we have an open, that way we have access to his chest. So that way we could start CPR resuscitation right then and there on the back of the sled. And then the operator will climb back up and then drive in. So you have a person leg locked and you're laying on top of them. You're kind of laying off to the side because you're not only holding on to them, but you're holding on to the sled still.
Right,
so
right,
you
right,
have
right.
one arm handy.
Right,
and then
right,
you're going to start that CPR.
So one question I have, and again, I'm not, these are all, there's no easy answers. What about a third person? Is it worth getting another person? Because it's harder to get a jet ski with 3 people out there,
Sure,
as opposed to 2. I mean, especially if they weigh about, 200 pounds themselves.
If we have,
do you ever, have you done the testing that's it's better, to just the 2 people, get them in, and should you even be doing CPR? Like, is it quicker to, whatever you got to do, but you want to get that person as quickly as you can.
Yeah. Especially if they're unconscious, not breathing. The biggest thing is CPR, and is to start that resuscitation and start that resuscitation process.
Right.
So me personally, I'm always going to try to do CPR the best of my ability.
Right.
On the back of the sled or wherever, just to start that heart again and keep that blood flowing, because that's the main thing that we want to try to keep going.
But for if you were going to teach me, you'd say just try to go with 2 guys. 2 guys, it's doable with 2 people.
It is doable, yes.
That's and is it worth? I mean, so again, I guess the question is it worth a third person slowing you down? Is there enough room on that ski, or is it really counterproductive to have a third person helping as opposed to the 2?
If
you're trained well enough.
We could do it with 2 people. If we have, like you said, multiple people in the water, say if we have like 2 swimmers in distress in the water, we might, while the ski is going out, or even before we get the ski in the water, we might have 1 or 2 rescue swimmers already torp swimming out by the time we get the ski off.
Now, so Nick, if they're torp swimming, are they still? Do they got their vests on?
They do.
Oh God, I mean, they got to be in good shape for that.
So they have. They have.
You send Dion. Is
vests.
Dion still working with you? Send him out, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
Wow.
to be honest with you, though, they're actually very light. Our rescue vests are very light, but they're buoyant, so they keep you up in the water. So it actually helps you a little bit more than you think.
And they're taking a can out with them.
Yeah, they'll take a
rescue can.
Everybody that goes out has to have some type of flotation other than your rescue vest.
So if you think and even if it's a big 250-pound, you get the 2 guys out there with your jet ski, and then if you have to, you could start sending rescue swimmers out.
100%. You
start doing that.
Yeah.
And then do you at that time you start thinking about launching another.
We could, if we have,
ski.
Absolutely. If we have the manpower to do it, if we're thinking that we need more than 1 ski, and especially if there's more than 1 person in the water, we will absolutely launch 2 skis with 2 swimmers and 2 operators.
These are questions that I get all the time. Like people tell me, and I don't know the answers to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have more experience because unfortunately enough, for whatever, we're proactive, so you guys are getting to where the shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
Things are the ship's going down. The ship's been torpedoed already.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
One other thing I wanted to ask you. So I have one of my friends he always asked me to ask our guest about this, and that's you got to predict what happened to the patient. And there's a big thing now with the first aid protocols that don't spend a lot of time stabilizing the neck unless you're absolutely positively sure it was a fractured, a broken neck. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's floating out there.
Sure.
You want to start the CPR. The biggest thing is to get them onto the beach, get the AED.
Correct.
Get them oxygen if they drowned.
Yep.
But how much do you worry about the neck collar? Is that a priority? Unless if they're 150 yards out
on the back of the ski, it's not much of a priority.
Yeah.
Because I'm not thinking about this is personally me, because I'm not carrying any kind of C spines or any kind of C collars or anything like that on the back of the ski with me. I'm just worried about them getting out of the water with me and getting them back in. We can worry about all that stuff later. The biggest thing that I want is to preserve life and go to work on that CPR process than to, worry about his neck or worry about anything else, because all of that's going to get jacked up on the way in anyway, if that, you know what I mean? So it's better off just to start that CPR progress. And then if we have to collar them at the beach, we'll collar them at the beach.
And that's the thing that's coming up. I mean, my advanced cardiac life support and everything.
Sure.
These are issues, and
I 100%. It's a big thing to think about too, especially because we have a lot of people that go in the water, and I've dealt with unfortunate fatals where people have gotten sucked out in the rip, and they may have gotten thrown over the falls and
in a wave,
broken their neck, and they may have broken their neck. And, and knocked them out, knocked them unconscious. They take in water, this, that, whatever. So the biggest thing for us is to preserve and try to preserve their life as much as possible by getting that blood flow going and getting that heart going as big as we can. And then, but once we get them to the beach, absolutely, we will take all those precautions. We will C-spine them. We will collar them. We'll get them on a backboard, whatever the process that's to be.
We had Jerry Falger. He's the one of the supervisor administrators in Miami Beach Patrol, and he's called us a couple times, and we were talking about this, and I think other people who mentioned this about not messing around with the neck board, getting or stabilizing it, get him out of the water.
Yeah, get him out of the water
and start
100%.
the CPR.
1,000%.
And I've actually in Miami they have a protocol where I ask him, how far do you let people out, and he goes, we let people out far enough, and this is proactive, but where if they pass out or have a seizure, we could get them to the beach between 4 and 6 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's actually how good they are, and that's their goal. Like around here, we want to get somebody in a if they have a heart attack in Seaside Heights on the boardwalk, you want them in Community Memorial Hospital getting a catheterization within an hour.
Sure.
And that's so that's good.
Absolutely. Our response times by the time we get into the water and get the victim on the board and back will probably take to at least 2 to 3 minutes. That's it.
Wow. That's when you guys train to do that. You guys being to get them. That's impressive.
Confidently, I could say that we get our victims back in and onto the beach, whether it's a life or death situation where we have to do resuscitation, but we're in those time frames of 2 to 3 minutes by the time we get.
You're beating Miami. Okay, Jerry, if Jerry's listening to us, Jerry.
What percentage of the time would you say compared to lifeguarding? Mm-hmm. When you go on a rescue, does the victim end up having to go to the hospital?
So that's actually a great question. So when I was lifeguarding and made rescues, it was more of I caught it before they even started to get to that, like, oh man, I might drown moment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like I saw them kind of going out and rep this, that, whatever. So when you're sitting on the stand, it's a lot easier to maybe make that rescue to be like, oh, hey, listen, like this, like I could, you could kind of anticipate what's going to happen before it happens. And you could kind of see him climbing the ladder, and all that. So it's a whole different scenario once we get called, because they have already been in that. They've already met that threshold of, I can't get back in and I might drown. You know what I mean? And then they start, and then it really starts to sink in. Mm-hmm. And then they start to take on water and all the other, processes that go with it. So 9 times out of 10, when we get somebody, they might be going to the hospital for, a little bit of water in their system, this, that, whatever, because by the time we try to get, because by the time we get the call, they're already drowning. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's definitely something that's then that's why we expedite all of our responses, because we already know by the time we get the call, they've already been in the water for God knows how long. You know what I mean? So it's always something, and we always have, Triboro EMS is fantastic with us. We work hand in hand with them on all of our rescues. They always come out for our rescues, and they're great, and they respond right to the beach, and they're there exactly where we need them.
So people who don't know what that is, the Triboro is our local ambulance service, EMT, and they'll get the people to the hospital real quick.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that we have a really good scenario down there, Seaside. I mean, we've had a lot of, I think 2-3 years ago, I did CPR on somebody, and we shocked her 3 times, and they went to community. Community did a great job, and so I think you have that. The auxiliary, the other side is really well.
Sure.
let me just get back, Nick, with the with just one other question I had was
Sure,
with,
yeah,
with the you make a good point about how a lot of these beaches and a lot of these towns, they want to get rid of the lifeguards and have what they call rescue teams.
Okay.
And you just made a good point. You guys do a great job, and you save a lot of lives. And
Thank
no. But the other side of the coin is that you make a good point. You can't because we're lifeguards, and I think that to replace the lifeguards with a rescue thing,
Right.
You got to understand the differences. It is that
100%.
time.
Yeah.
And if you could have somebody sitting on a lifeguard stand and proactively stopping this,
Correct.
that's what you want. Obviously, the lifeguards can't be there all the time,
Right.
and you can't cover every spot of sand. So you need to have both, and they both need to work together really well.
Sure.
So having said that, if a town or a beach or any community or on a lake, they're struggling on trying to understand what's the best model. What would you say is the best model for reducing people from drowning? The overall coordination, police, lifeguard, fire. How would you set it up? This whole scenario in your opinion and your expertise.
So to keep people out of the water, you're saying? Or
Well, just nobody drowns.
So nobody drowns.
Yeah, people are going to use the water. They
100%. People are always going to use the water.
Right.
People are always going to come
Right.
down, whether you tell them not to or
Right.
this, that, whatever. They're still going to come down. They're still going to try to enjoy the beach. This, that, and I don't blame them. You know what I mean? Because we're fortunate enough to live very close to the
Right.
beach. You got
Right.
people coming
Right.
from Philadelphia, all
Right.
over the world.
Right.
Especially to our beaches because they're so famously known. This, that, whatever. So I think that as long as there's some sort of law enforcement presence, or if it's a fire department presence, or if you got a skeleton crew on, I think it would benefit the beaches around here a lot more to have a little bit more of a select group to always be having a shadow to the water. I think it's something that a lot of people, take for granted with the ocean, but I feel like sometimes there's not a lot of law when it comes to the ocean and how it's policed. I think there should always be a law enforcement presence at the beach at all times to prevent or to see something happen, and then we could put a stop to it. Because where there's going to be ocean, there's going to be people. You know what I mean? And
well, I've had people who tell me, listen, put a sign up, swim at your own risk, and that's it. They drown, they drown. And I always say to them, well, what if, you got a 17-year-old kid, gets a bunch of his friends, they're 15, 16. I mean, kids are kids, and they come down, maybe they have a couple drinks, drinking on the way down, and there's no lifeguards on the beach, there's no police, there's nobody, nothing, and they go in the water and they drown. And you say, oh, well, survival of the fittest. We could do better than that.
Of course. And
we could do better than that.
Yeah, 100%. You always say, oh, what would happen if a lifeguard was there? You always get that question of, oh, I wish there was a lifeguard on duty that day, or, this, that, whatever. So I think it's always, something to think about where, you could have a little bit more law enforcement present, or you could have a skeleton crew of, this, that, whatever, especially the primetime seasons, especially after, September, October is one of our prime times for ocean rescues because, the guards go home and, it's left up to us to kind of, police the beaches. And unfortunately, sometimes it's just a little bit too late, and that's the hardest part, and it's the most frustrating part. Is what I mean, and we can go on the news and preach, please don't go in the water, and and we could do all this stuff, but people are still going to go in the water, and people are still going to try to enjoy their day, which I do not blame them at all. So there's always I always think that, especially around these areas and these high populated areas, and especially in the summers. There always should be a little bit more law enforcement present, or at least skeleton crews and this, that, whatever, to kind of police the beach a little bit better.
I think that there'd be a lot more people drowning if it wasn't for surfers.
That was actually, you beat me right to it. I think I grew up on a surfing beach all my life, and I've never seen surfer. like it's amazing how many times I've seen surfers pull people out of the water.
Oh yeah, they're honorary. We make them honorary lifeguards. I mean, they probably make more rescues than all the I'm telling you, surfers.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've been surfing all my life, and I can't even tell you how many times I've paddled over to if somebody here, somebody, hey, let me help you out a little bit, and they're grateful for it. You know what I mean? So I think surfers are the biggest underrated lifeguards there is.
Yeah.
Because they're always catching, because they got the eye, in the water, and they know what they're doing. Yeah. So I always think it's great to have a surfer's presence, especially around the beaches.
Right.
Especially when there's no one really around.
Right. I think my question, really was that is getting to, a couple things, but I think it's good to have a coordinated scenario.
Sure.
When we had Jack here, who's the fire chief over in Spring Lake, they have this entity. It's lifeguards, it's police.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's fire. And they all work together. And, and they're out on the beach. I mean, he had one where a boat went up into the jetty, right? And you had cops there, you had lifeguards, and you had fire department.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see that blend. I think we need to do more of that in all our towns. I mean, we work together very well now, but I agree with you. I think that every town, like I was watching this thing, there was a town, a couple of these places in Chicago on the lakes or New York, and they wanted to get rid of, they didn't want to pay the lifeguards, so they wanted to just have like a rescue crew.
Okay.
Sitting somewhere, reacting to the beach. And they opened the beach and the sign saying, they didn't say no swimming, but swim at your own risk or whatever. And then the town fathers said, well, we'll just have this entity that's going to sit there and make the rescues at the end. And we all know that that's not the best model either.
Right.
I mean, we can't have lifeguards all the time. We need to have a second everything. And also, you guys, back us up. And we can't be everywhere every time. And there's a lot of beaches that are not controlled or not guarded. But I think that this premise, and some of the local beaches here were doing about it, especially at the end of the season, they would have nobody on the beach and not cops either. And I agree with you. It's you either have somebody who can make a rescue on the beach,
or someone that could at least spot it,
right? Or have police there to stop people going in the water.
Sure.
I mean, you're not, like you said, they're going to go in the water. The only way to do it is to arrest them and pull them off the beach. If you have this thing where you swim at your own risk, then you should at least be talking to somebody like you or I. We know when the water's going to be bad. I could predict.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We could predict this weekend it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
People are going to drown.
Yeah, even in our training and this, that, whatever, we tell the guys, all the time, like, listen, there's a swell coming up, and maybe not when it's going on, this, that, whatever, but I'm telling you, by Monday, Tuesday, we're going to be getting rescues, this, that, whatever. And what happens all the time? We get banged out all day.
Yeah. Tyler, what do you got? You said some questions for him. You said you wanted to.
So you guys see some pretty heavy shit.
Yeah.
I've been on some of the scenes and I've seen it myself. And, that makes me wonder, because you guys are all volunteer, do you find it really difficult to find people that are willing to do the job?
Yes and no. You get some guys that, come into the service understanding the risks of what you're going to see and what you're going to kind of be exposed to in this line of work. And some
Nico
people
would be a good example of that.
Right. Yeah. And we explained, like, I just had a great friend of mine, Vin DeSalvo. He's a probationary, firefighter now. He's going through the academy. He wants to do water rescue. He's a great waterman. I've known him since high school, middle school. But I told him, I sat him down and I talked to him, like, listen, you know what I mean? Like, you're a great friend of mine. Like, and, it's all joking around with the boys and this, that, whatever. Like, we have a great time. Like I said, we're a family. But, you're going to get into some very heavy stuff. And, you just need to mentally prepare yourself now, because a lot of people come into it naive a little bit. Like, okay, yeah, like I've seen this on TV, or maybe I saw a pretty bad car accident where I saw a dead body or this, that, whatever. But it all changes when you're right then and there and you're in that situation, and you might have to see that person take their last breath. And that's something that will stick with me forever. And it's something that you have to kind of expect. And some people get driven away from it after that. Some people will leave after that. You know what I mean? And I can't blame them, because it's not for everybody. But we have great support groups, not only ourselves, but we could reach out to certain organizations that come in. We'll have a big debrief with everybody. We'll talk about the call. We'll talk about any call that we really want to have that we've had that in the past will bother us, even if it's something not as crazy as you think, but it might just get to you a little bit. You could always reach out to certain support groups that we have in the fire department and in the fire service that we could reach out for. And they're a great group of guys that come out and help us through it. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing, is to talk about it.
These debriefs.
Sure.
Is this like a standard practice? Like if a rescue happens that you deem is traumatic,
Yeah.
automatically everybody on the crew has to debrief?
Yes. Yeah. Anytime that there is a call that is just like, involve anything with children, sometimes can be very difficult. But anytime that there's a fatality or anytime that there's a traumatic incident, we're always going to call for a debrief and sit down with everybody and see how everybody's feeling. And even after that, debrief, if everybody's like, yeah, that was pretty crazy, and that kind of like rattled me a little bit, but I think I'm okay. It might be 2-3 days down the road where you might really start thinking about it and like, hey, like, listen, I need to talk to somebody. And then those resource groups are always going to be there. And 24 hours a day, I always say, you can reach out to me, reach out to my dad, you know what I mean? Whatever.
That's awesome, man. Cause
so it's great. And it's something that kind of goes unnoticed, but there's a lot of suicides within, first responders. And that's
Really?
a big number of first responder deaths, especially.
Really?
It's been escalating as well. So it's something
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's something that is definitely sometimes overlooked a little bit, but it's something that we're definitely trying to prevent.
Well, and like you made a good point. People always ask, like, especially like for like lifeguards, firefighters, police officers, EMTs, like,
Sure.
How do you deal with seeing all this trauma? And like the truth is, like, some of us fucking struggle with it.
Yeah.
100%. And I think it's so awesome that you guys are doing that, because like we're just expected to like take this stuff in stride, like see this traumatic stuff, and not like, and just internalize it and just move on. And like that's not how the human brain works.
No.
That's so great that you guys are doing that.
Yeah,
like that like makes me so happy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that is definitely a big resource to us, especially on those traumatic calls, and especially those, sucky situations that we get ourselves into sometimes, because, 9 times out of 10, we're going to somebody's worst day. You know what I mean? And it's something that, we always have to kind of just bond together as a group. And, no traumatic is a good incident, but it also makes us almost more bonded together as a family.
Oh, yeah. A trauma bond, dude.
Yeah, to go through something like that together as a group just makes us even stronger. And that's what a lot of, that's what a lot of people can say, and that's what a lot of people can agree on, is that, like, listen, although we went through this, we went through it together, and we're going to be there for each other through this whole entire process together.
I think the main part, because we on our beach have dealt with this in our own way, and I'm sure we'll get into it on the show eventually, but to be able to like convince yourself that like what went wrong, like you still did your best and that's enough,
right,
can be really hard.
And
it really does. It really does take someone putting their hand on your shoulder and say, listen, like, you were trained for this. You did everything you needed to do.
Yep.
This isn't your fault.
Right.
Yeah. You make a good point. I just want to interject here, because I'm a surgeon, and I assisted a lot of general surgeons, and I've had people who, as soon as we finish operating them, they go to recovery and they die. We've had trauma and all of that, and you could look back in like World War II. There was the guys who were flying the B-17 planes, 10 guys in there. They were dying left and right. You go out, and your friend never came back. I think there's two things that, because you're going off on a little tangent here, but I think it's a good thing to talk about. Two things happened with me, is you get to the point where you realize you train and you do the best you can.
Right.
And that's going to help you. So you need somebody to tell you that, but you should internalize and say, I'm going to train the best I can. That's why you be in the best shape. You don't fool around, you take it serious. and that helps you at the other end. And the other thing is, you get to a point, and I can tell you right now, it will happen. You will get detached to a certain degree. I used to be in the hospital, and we would have car accident victims come in. They're dead on arrival. We'd be ventilate them, go down and get X-rays, and I'd be talking to the nurse and talking about what we're going to do. We're going out to it on a date the next 2 nights. You get to that point. The human body is an amazing thing, but you have to bring them on, and like if you're a captain of the lifeguards or captain of the fire department, you have to be very cognizant that everybody's going to go into that phase differently, and you need to bring them along. Like you said, they need to be spoken to. You need a shoulder to cry on to, so to speak. And I got to the point where how I dealt with it and where I was having a hard time is when I was doing my residency. There was one hospital I worked at, and the hospital didn't stink, but it had a certain smell. And the hardest thing for me every day was going through the front door and to get that smell. If I could, and that sounds crazy, doesn't it? But if I could get, and I saw such stuff. I don't want to tell. Gunshot woman's woman, stopped with a car to get ice, sand out of the back. Car goes into the back of her, slids back of her, amputates her one leg, and the other leg's hanging off. It kept right across from her hospital. They brought her in, the leg in a bag. They got what leg here. I mean, you sit there. I'm I don't know, 23 years old, whatever I am. I'm like,
You're like, what do I do with this?
But there's other doctors there. But you see that stuff, and you see the misery and the family. Like when somebody drowns, that's one thing. But there's the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, the aunt, all of that. But my point is that there's little things that you have to get through. And like to me, I got through the smell, But you make a good point, Tyler. It's hard. But all of us have to in our line of job, in our line of work. Here's the thing, though, and I always tell you this: you saved somebody's life, right? You could tell me now a story where you definitely saved somebody's life.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, we all did. I have, and that gives you that cushion when you don't. When you can save their lives,
it's true,
and that's what you have to hang on to. So it's the at the end of the day, hopefully you got more wins than losses, and that's the only way to look at it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think something else that's worth pointing out is like the flip side of that coin is like when you're done with that, and when that intensity is missing from your life. Yeah, because like you see it a lot more in like. You can see it in like lifeguards when, you're done for the season and now you have like 6 months where
nothing's going on.
You're not turned on every
Don't worry. When
day.
You turn my age, I'm 65. Trust me. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting like, hey, you guys can make the, but you make a good point. You get the adrenaline, it's a high too. You do get on it. It's a speed.
The biggest thing.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, you're fine. Yeah. The biggest thing too, that's actually a trauma in itself, believe it or not. The way that you put that is actually a trauma in itself. You could think of it as because, as first responders, we're going to this call, right? And that's a huge adrenaline rush, right? And then if, say, we get a ocean rescue, right, and it's a bad call, like we get a bad one, and then, that call wraps up, that divvies up, this, that, whatever, you go back to your firehouse, you have your debrief. And it all took maybe like, maybe you're out there for 2-3 hours. You come back. Now you just come back home. And now you gotta go with your girlfriend to her family's dinner.
Yeah. And make like nothing happened.
And act like nothing just happened.
Yeah.
You're like, an hour and a half ago, I was just pulling somebody out and they died right in front of me. And now I gotta go, to dinner with my family and they have no idea what just happened. And that's something that's hard in itself to grasp. Like, holy shit, like, you know what I mean? Like
a lot of times it's not until the trauma is completely over that you start dealing with it and like it hits you. Yeah,
the biggest thing is like after a long day, like there's been times this past summer where we were literally running water calls all day. I had one bad fatality the one day, and after it's all said and done, like the sun's finally going down. You're like, oh, thank God the sun's going down. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then you finally pack everything up after a long day, ocean rescues, this, that, whatever. And then you go home and take your first shower after that. You're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah,
You're like, I can't even believe what just happened.
Yeah, and you when you talk like, right now, you talk about post-traumatic stress syndrome. There's about what I read is there's 22 soldiers a day
Yep.
Are committing suicide.
Yep.
And Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran and all that. And there's your answer. I mean, not your answer, but there's your proof. I mean, these things are hard to deal with, and a lot of people are not. I don't say they're not equipped. They're weak or anything like that. You can only take so much. We've seen in World War II. You've seen it in World War I, but you do have to. You really gotta. Sorry. I hit the table and everything shakes. And I can tell you from my experience. I don't want to preach to you guys, but you gotta. Actually, the more I don't want to say it gets easier, but you have to. You cannot go into a rescue or into a call with that baggage, because you will not. Like when I was doing the surgeries, and especially when I'm helping my buddy who's general surgeon's trauma, and you got to do it, and I mean, especially when it's the blood and all of that, and you see these poor people, you got to just go. So it's you got to get through it, but it's tough. There's a lot of people who are dying right now. I didn't know that first responders. I guess too.
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, I think when we say first responders, though, we're first responders. I think it's what level. I think we're there on a fire department. You guys see, the car crashes. That used to get me.
Sure.
When they brought people in, and I mean, I've seen people that were just horrible to figure it in.
Yeah, it's like you can't even imagine how like they even ended up that way.
And then you see, but I see them now. We're operating on them, and they're in the hospital for a month, and we're talking to them. And you got their family, and trust me, doctors. It's rough. I'm surprised there's not more doctors jumping off. But I think what happens is that you get to the point where you just pack it in and you go. But you guys and lifeguards to a certain degree, we're all in that scenario. That's why I think we have to think about when we save somebody's life.
Right.
So that it's not all negative.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
And if we don't do it, again, hopefully we're strong enough, but who's going to do it if we're not going to do it?
Exactly. And that's like one of the biggest things too. Like you said, you know what I mean? Like I remember like one of those days where we were just, I remember I woke up at 8:30 in the morning to a water call, and it went from 8:30 in the morning to probably 7 o'clock that night of just straight water calls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I remember I got to a certain point where we had a fatality that day. It was just like, it was one of the worst situations that I probably ever had to be in myself. And, after the whole thing was done and we got the patient eventually loaded into the back of the ambulance, this, that, whatever, and we're still on the beach and we're trying to get all our stuff back together. And like, I just like almost like lost it for a minute because, I was just like, dude, like this is like, I'm already exhausted and it's not even 1 o'clock yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and my dad had to pull me aside and he's like, listen, he's like, I need you to get your head in the game. He's like, push it all off now. We'll deal with it later. He's like, but I need you here right now. And I was just like, okay, like that's all I needed to kind of, but you need that push sometimes, like you said, to kind of get through it because you can never go in a situation. And we don't let any of our guys go. If they're going if they're going on a call, this, that, whatever, with a sour attitude, or, if they got other stuff on their mind, they're not going to perform 110% of their ability, which we can't have. You know what I mean? Because we need your mind in it to win it at all times. You know what I mean? So it's something that is definitely a tough pill to swallow sometimes, but sometimes you just need to force yourself to kind of just reset. Yeah, and then go from square one all over again.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. After you got another question for Nick. I wanted to ask him.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
It's funny because like people that see beach patrols and fire departments and just these really tightly knit organizations. They're usually first responders. They'll look at us and the way we interact with each other, and they'll say like, "Oh, that's like a frat," or "Oh, like that's kind of culty." And I think that one of the big reasons for that is that shared trauma, because like we go home at the end of the day and we have all this shit we need to unload that only these people that were there with us are going to be able to understand.
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Nick. When you guys, this is technical stuff now.
Sure.
So you get you know it's going to be a busy week, and you guys have a certain amount. You have you don't have an infinite. You have a finite amount of resources, assets.
Sure.
So what happens when there's a call in Lavalette, one beach? There's another call 3 miles away, and maybe there's another call at the other end of the town, somewhere else. How do you guys accommodate that? Do you guys have some plans for that?
Absolutely. So it's actually funny that you said that. So when we head out for water calls, 2 other fire departments are actually dispatched as well with us.
Oh, really?
So,
Who else
yes.
is there?
Okay,
I didn't know that.
Seaside Park.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
So they have
Station
they have a water rescue.
They have a water rescue team as well, and as
Okay.
well as Station 69 always has manpower for us as well. So
Where's that now?
Lavalette.
Oh, so they do have a water rescue there?
They do, yeah. They just they're starting it back up again. From my understanding, they had a water rescue team. It fell off a little bit, but now they're getting back on the horse with it. And,
Okay.
so that they just got a brand new ski. It's beautiful ski. So we're really happy and we're really stoked for them to get back in it with us. So they're going to be training with us, and we have joint operation drills as well with Ocean Rescue.
Okay.
So we'll have Station 45, us, which is 44, as well as 69. A lot of guys come down and train with us. And kind of see how we do things. I've had Tom's River companies come and train with us as well, to kind of guide them through and teach them the ropes of our specialty.
So who would coordinate it? So if there's something off season in, say, Ortley,
Right.
and who's going to respond, and who takes control of the scenario?
Right. So so now it kind of gets a little bit more into fire etiquette of things. So the responding chief, whoever's really the responding chief to the scene, will take command, whether that's our chief or Seaside Park's chief or Lavalette.
And they would.
And then then we all follow in the same, in the same kind of situation. So, or all fall, within those categories. So pretty much they'll delegate all of us.
So So that's how it works. One guy or gal will take over.
Correct.
And that'll go. And that's good. So now you're going to have more. You're going to have more.
Yeah.
People
So we
out there.
always So it's nice that we have manpower is always a big thing, especially if you have multi-rescue, this, that, whatever. You're tired. The last thing you want to do is load the ski back up to the trailer. So a lot of fire departments that come in, this, that, whatever, will help us out with stuff. This, that, whatever we need on the road. And we'll help them too. You know what I mean? If they just went out on a rescue and then we were a little bit late to the party. We'll help them out, whatever that they need. So it's nice. We have a very close connection with all the fire departments on the island side, which is nice, so that, we always help each other hand in hand, whether it's on the fire side or if it's on the water side as well.
Now, on the state park area,
Yes.
Because we're going to have the captain in here.
Yeah, sure.
Friday.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they got this.
We worked with them actually this past summer on 2 divers that went off the inlet, and they helped us launch the ski, and we went around the inlet, and it was a whole scenario. Yeah, it was actually a little bit lighter of a scenario, which was nice. There were 2 divers, they were hanging out.
Yeah.
They just chose the wrong day to go diving, and but they were good, they were cool. You know what I mean? They
a lot of boat traffic there.
Yeah, a lot of boat traffic, and it was just like a wicked pull, in the inlet that day, and a wicked current. And, they ended up just walking up the rocks and getting out, which was cool. But we got to work with a lot of a couple of the state park guys, which is really cool. We'd like to see them come down, which was nice. And, they helped us out big time. So it was nice.
Do they, because I know they have a big festival on the Bay side.
Why can't I think of the name of it?
Yeah, I don't know what it's Tyson Shoal, but they have something there. Yeah.
Flowchella.
Yeah, that's it. The Flowchella.
Do you guys get
Flowchella.
involved in it at all? I mean,
we do.
You go to you guys go hang out there, or you just wait if there's a call? What's the deal with that?
So Seaside Park will actually have a few units down there as well, and then they'll call us if we need it, because we always like to if Seaside Park's handling something in their town, we'll let them handle it.
Right.
And if they need us, they'll call us because listen, somebody else has got to watch the whole beach side and this, that, whatever. So if 45's already got a crew out, we like to have at least have one crew on the island for all the other stuff, because they, 45 has their boat and their ski down all the way on the island beach. You know what I mean? It's going to kind of suck if we have all the apparatus in one area and then we get banged out for Lavalette. And then we're like, all right, now I got to come 13 miles down Island Beach, through Seaside
Right.
Park, through the Heights, back into Lavalette. So it's a whole thing. So
Right. It's 10
yeah.
miles. For
Right.
people don't know who are on listen to our podcast, it's this thing they have in the summertime on the bay. There's like maybe 1,000 boats.
Oh yeah,
It's insane.
it's
insane.
crazy. Yeah, but
And it's
we've
kinda
gotten
crazy.
we've gotten called out there for people getting struck by propellers. You know,
Yeah.
this, that, whatever. We had to transport them off the beach. This, that, whatever. To to ambulance services. This, that, whatever. So yeah, it's absolutely it's something crazy that happens every year.
Yeah.
But the sheriff's department's always down there. The New Jersey State Police Marine unit's down there always, which is a great help. So we always like to see more companies and more divisions coming down there too, which is nice.
Yeah, I hear that Seaside's now going to have the police department's going to have a boat patrolling the bay, which I think is important.
Yeah.
So jurisdiction. So that's but that island, I was going to ask you though, how many times, because that's a huge, so Island Beach State Park is at least what, 8, 9 miles, 8 miles.
I think it's
10
miles.
I think it's 10 down the whole entire road, and then you got only that beach access where only the trucks and the fishing beach to go all the way down to the net is like another 3 or 4. So you're looking at like 14 miles.
In September and October, where's most of the rescues, after hours or after season? Is it mostly like north, like Ortley?
It's tough to say.
All over the place. So
yeah,
so it's just a smattering all over the place.
Yeah. We can, we could get. It's funny sometimes. Like we'll get all our calls in the morning, like in Ortley Beach or like Ocean Beach 3, and then towards the late afternoon, we'll get them all in the Heights. And then like maybe towards like when the sun's going down, maybe we'll get one in Seaside Park, or, there's been situations where we've been packing up in Lavalette and then we get one in Island Beach State Park way down in Island Beach.
Ooh.
So it's like,
Well, let me ask you. So I always ask my guests this. What can you tell me? Not the worst. Like when I say the worst one, but what's the most memorable rescue that you've had? That was just like unbelievable story.
bad or good?
Well, I think it'd be nice to have a good one.
Yeah.
That was just really memorable to you. I would say a good one where you really made a big difference.
Yeah.
And it was it was a nice, happy success story, but it was crazy.
I will never forget one of the craziest rescues I probably ever had was actually down in Seaside Heights, right off the south side, right off the pier, right off the one guard shack actually. And
North end or south end?
South end.
South. So Sumner, like Hamilton.
Right in front of Spicy's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was right in front of Spicy's, and
Webster, Hamilton.
Yeah. We were actually training on the fire side, and we had an acquired structure, and we were doing some roof ventilation and stuff like that, and training for ventilation with the roofs and all that kind of stuff. So me and a couple of my buddies were on the roof, and we're in full turnout gear, full PPE, cutting in the roof and this, that, whatever, and then. I remember I heard something, this, that, and I was like, wait, the pager just go off? Like this, that, whatever. And I remember hear people scream, swimmer in distress, swimmer in distress. I'm like, oh man, like I'm already gassed because like, I'm out, I'm out and like, I'm got my full turnout gear. It's October.
So you got your firefighting, you got your axe and your big hat, and the boots and everything.
Full PPE, so I'm like on a roof and I'm like, swimmer in distress. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And they're like, yeah, let's go. So I'm like, all right. So I like drop all the whatever I'm doing. And then I'm like trying to get down the ladder. I remember my glove got caught on the ladder, so I just took my gloves off and I like threw them somewhere. I lost my gloves that night. I was like, I had to get a new pair of gloves. I don't even know where they went. So I remember it was me, my dad, and like 2 other guys, and we hop in this the one truck that we have. It's like a Tahoe almost. It's like just for like extra stuff, or like if people come late, they could take it. So we just took that, all of our fire gear on. We took that, zipped back to the firehouse, lights and sirens, this, that, whatever. We're getting all thrown around in the back of the truck. You know what I mean? My dad's driving. And we get back to the firehouse, and I'll never forget it. It was the funniest thing. It looked like a yard sale outside the firehouse. There's like a turnout coat, pants, boots. Like we're just taking all of our stuff and just throwing it places because we're just trying to get down.
You know, that comes to that. Every time, sometimes I'll go by the fire department, I see all that shit laying on the ground. Now I know why.
Yeah,
it's like that's why. That's
yeah,
why I'm like,
probably.
what are these guys doing?
So I remember I was in like a pair of like O'Neill like
Now I know.
cargo shorts. Yeah. So like I was in like O'Neill cargo shorts. So like so I just kept those on and I just grabbed my vest and my helmet and that was it. So then we hop in the in 4426 which was the pickup that we saw earlier, and we hopped down to the beach. The chief got on scene already, and I just remember hearing on the radio 4426 step it up. So that's when we know okay, listen, it's go time. We got people in the water, this, that, whatever. So it was reported that there was 2 victims, a girl and a guy, out and right in front of Spicy's, and they got sucked out. Meanwhile, it's nighttime.
So it's dark already. So
it's dark.
What time of year? Let's set the premise here. So what time of year was it? First of all,
this was October 2nd. So it's still nice out. It was like a nice
water's
hot,
warm.
Water's gorgeous.
And was some big surf.
Big surf. There was just a nor'easter 3 days 3 days prior.
What, 3 to 5? What do you think? What do you think? 2 to 3 to 4?
Probably 5 to 6 because I surfed right before the drill too.
Ouch!
So,
ouch.
I had I had surfed that day right before the drill. I went in for 2 hours. Same spot. It was the funniest thing. It was the same spot that I went to go get these 2 people at.
Yeah.
I was surfing a couple hours prior. So so it was the water was nice. It was dark as hell though. And it was and the only thing that really you could see was just the lights from the pier. You know what I mean? This, that, whatever. And all the lights from the boardwalk and this, that, whatever. So I remember getting on scene and the chief calling for a swimmer with a can. So my dad was like, all right, Nick, that's you. That's that's your specialty. Go for it. So I remember just hopping out of the truck. I just had a vest on at that point because I was just making a swim. And I remember making a swim out. And I remember it was super dark, but the water was nice. So I, just started my swim out. I started a little bit down the beach because there was a little bit of a current. So I wanted to kind of line up myself to, between, him and, just my line of path. So I remember and we have scene lights and stuff like that on our truck. So they, they lit up the whole area, this, that, whatever. So it was kind of a little bit better to see, but not the greatest.
Right. Still hard.
I remember diving under, nice 4 or 5 foot wave coming back up. Ooh. Maybe seeing the guy, maybe me screaming to him I'm coming, this, that, whatever. And he was treading water, he was all right, you know what I mean? He wasn't that
panicking,
that oh shit moment yet.
Yeah.
So I remember finally getting to him, throwing him the tour up. I'm like, yo, you good? Are you all right? How much water did you take? He's like, I don't think I took anything. This, that, whatever. He was like, there was a girl with me, and I'm looking around, dude, where was she? And she was like, oh, he's like, I don't know. She's like, I went under a wave. She was there. And then I went under another one. She wasn't there. So at that point, I was like, oh, man, this, that, whatever. So I remember screaming from the beach. And I'm 50 yards out, maybe 50 to maybe 60 yards out. And I remember screaming to them to launch the ski because we possibly had another victim, not knowing that she actually caught a little bit of the sandbar and walked herself in. So, and, because it's dark. That guy has no idea, this, that, whatever. So I'm like, all right, let's just focus on you right now, this, that, whatever. So he's like, all right, yeah. So I start swimming him in. And by the time I had gotten out there, I used the rip to my advantage to just shoot right out there. And the rip had opened up 3 more blocks. So it was just a nightmare getting him in. So I was I was just damn, we were trying everything to get the, I was trying everything in my power to try to get this guy in, and I didn't have fins on me. I didn't have time to grab fins or anything like that. I got a vest on.
Is that why you have the fin clip all the time now?
That's why I got the fin clip on me all the time now, because I'm after that night I was like, dude, I need a pair of fins because this, that, whatever. So we ended up actually launching the ski anyway, and my dad swam out too, secured him with me, and then we got a buddy of mine, Hunter, actually got the ski, brought it out to us. We got the guy in, and then we thankfully found out that the girl was in safe. She was in safely. But I remember the funniest thing about the whole entire thing was the guy, I remember him saying to me, like midway through the process of trying to get it, he's like, don't worry, bro. He's like, I'm a swimmer. Yeah, and I swim for high school. I'm like, dude, if you were a swimmer, man, you wouldn't be in this situation right now. Like, come on, man. Is that whatever? So it turns out,
they never want to admit. And
yeah.
But you make a good point here. Well, that's a good success story. And you know, at night, and
it was. Yeah.
I've made maybe 2 night rescues, but it wasn't in a. We were at a bar. It used to be a bar on the boardwalk called the Wine Cellar, and I was 3 sheets to the window. It was a whole bunch of us.
Oh wow.
And we got called. Somebody opened. It's like right out of a movie. Any lifeguards here? Because we all ran. And the cops were out there in the boats. They actually launched the boats. I remember they were rowing the boats wrong way and everything. And there was a bunch of like 4 or 5 girls, all skinny dipping, naked, the whole thing. Yeah. Because and I still remember lifting the one girl up into the boat. I was trying to, and her butt was like right in my face. And I'm like, but and anyway, awesome. But you making an important point here, and I think that our audience should hear this. It's one thing getting to the victim. That's half the rescue.
Oh yeah. That's half the battle.
That's the easy part.
That's the easy part.
Getting them in.
Yeah, that's where
And a lot of people don't realize that. And a lot of lifeguards and water rescue, you get them, but now get them in. And I watched a clip not too long ago. It was in California, and there was somebody in trouble next to a jetty, and the run was cooking like straight out. Lifeguard jumps in the water, and somebody was videoed. It was just a citizen, videoing it. And he's got, I don't know if he had fins on, but he had a can with a long line. One of those, gets the victim, puts the can around it, one of those foam cans, and starts trying to swim in right directly, opposite of the run. He went out and he's trying to go in. And he's trying. And then, he gets sucked out and he's trying. Right. And he couldn't do it. It was really interesting to see it.
It happens.
And then another lifeguard comes in. And he grabs the victim, and I don't remember now if they both did, but he swam parallel. They went south.
I tried swimming parallel with this guy. Tried to go the other way with him.
It's hard.
It just wasn't working out. Thank God for the skate. I would eventually got him in, but man, it was a swim though. Let me tell you.
And that's why we use the ropes. Obviously.
Rope can, always.
But
absolutely.
It's tough. And I've remember times I tell these guys it's the pulling these people in with the rope. You could get injured coming down that waterfall, so you could break somebody's neck.
Sure.
And then with us too, it's the secondary. When we do a rescue, other people are going in the water. But that's a great story. And he was, it's amazing too. At the end, he's like, "Oh, I'm a good swimmer." Even
at the end, I'm trying to I'm gassed trying to get this guy, and he's like, "Don't worry, bro, I'm a swimmer." This, that, whatever. It turns out that was their first date too. That was nice. And I'm like, might be your last, man. I don't know. It was a story, man.
I wanted to ask you about a rescue you guys went on last summer.
Sure.
It was during bathing hours.
Okay.
Someone comes up to me in the middle of the day and they're like, "Hey, I think someone's like way out there."
Yeah.
And I'm like looking and like could not see a thing with my naked eye. And they're like, "Yeah, like out like on the horizon." So I take my binos and there's this dude on a paddleboard, like as far as the eye can see, just and I look at the person, I'm like, he looks all right. Like he doesn't look like he looks like he wants to be out there.
What time of year was it?
This was like August.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I remember this. Yeah.
And,
was it a west wind? Was it heavy west wind?
Yes, but he kind of just like
went
out there on his own.
Wind. From what I remember, he had more of a south wind because he was going towards Point, right? Like
he was going north.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so ends up it was that guy that climbed the not the sky ride, the one that swings you around. What's that called? The sky coaster.
Yeah.
Climbed up there and put a flag up there like earlier, last summer.
Right.
But were you in the water on that rescue? Like what? Because it took you guys forever to get that guy in.
Yeah. So I remember I was driving the ski, and I remember getting out to him, and he had like these big inflatables on the sides of his paddleboard. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to go from Island Beach all the way down to Point, and then I'm going to try to paddle from Point to like wherever, like Sandy Hook or something like that. I'm like, dude, like, and he had like a lot of stuff on him too. Like he had like a backpack, like, you know, like a whole thing like full of like waters. Like he was prepared. And I'm like, are you good? Like, you know, this, that, whatever. And he's like, yeah, dude. He's like, I try to do this every once in a while. And I'm like, well, dude, like, can you like take it in a little bit? Like we could barely see you out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people are getting worried.
So then like, you know, because there's certain jurisdictional stuff like in like within the ocean, like if it's actually like past a certain point, it actually like the Coast Guard has to handle it.
Yeah,
like not
federal,
even,
3 miles.
Yeah, 3 miles out is the
3
federal
miles.
jurisdiction. This, that, whatever. So he was like right on that mark almost. You know what I mean? So we just like, you know, so pretty much what happened was we just took him in for a second. You know, the police just did a brief report with him, and then we sent him on his way, and then he paddled back out and went farther or wherever the hell he went. You know what I mean? But
it
yeah,
looked like he was being really difficult because you guys, like, I think you guys launched the Zodiac.
We did.
First.
Yeah, we launched the Ski and the Zodiac.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it was. I mean, at first he didn't want to go in because he just didn't want to deal with it. But I'm like, listen, this is what's gonna happen. And like, you know, because like now you're our problem. You know what I mean? Like once like we get out there, like you're our problem now. We can't just dismiss it. Like there has to be, there is a process to it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, like eventually he was like, all right, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, listen, dude, you're not in trouble. You're not doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? But we just got to see that you're okay. You have your proper equipment and this, that, whatever, and then we can send you on your way. It's all good, dude.
And
Just
now that we
continue your
came out
paddle.
here, you have to come in.
Yeah,
It's the same, like like on the beach, like if
'Cause at
someone's
first,
like flailing around, climbing the ladder like an idiot, and I call the rescue,
right?
Like I don't care if you think you're okay, you're coming.
Oh,
in
you're
now.
coming in, you're getting checked out, and then we're gonna send you on your way. Because the last thing that we really want to do is, you know what I mean, like, oh yeah, you okay? Okay, yeah, you're fine. All right, see you later. And then something, God forbid, happens to them, and then it's a whole bunch of backlash.
And
So
this
we
is
always just want to make sure everybody's safe.
right. And you make an interest. This is something that we've talked about on multiple shows. So think about what we just said, and there's people who feel differently there. Well, listen, you have the right to die. You have the right to do what you want. And if I want to go swim at 10 miles out in the ocean, I could do it.
Right.
The other side of the coin is that we don't know if you're trying to commit suicide. We don't know if you're mentally ill. We don't know if you're incapacitated. And we're having this more and more on our beach where we know people. We could tell somebody who's going to be in trouble before they know themselves. They're going backwards.
Yeah.
They're obviously not good swimmers.
Sometimes you can tell before they even hit the water.
Right,
Sometimes,
right,
like,
yeah,
this
well,
guy might be a problem.
Now,
Cargo shorts. That's,
right.
that's
so
the biggest tell.
here's
Full, yeah, full,
but
like,
here's
you
the thing. We had this last summer. You know, kid was in trouble, and I sent the lifeguards down. I mean, he was going backwards, and you could see he wasn't going to make it in. The run was cooking, and he got really nasty with the lifeguards. I didn't need to be rescued. I was fine. You assaulted me, you know, stuff like that.
Wow.
And I think you're going to see more of that, unfortunately. And I had another lady who was in trouble, and she was going backwards, and I sent the lifeguards down. I'm standing there, and I went down. She was giving the guys the hard time, and I went to talk to her. And she's like a woman in 40s, you know, seemed like an educated, you know, normal. Didn't seem like she was intoxicated.
Sure.
And she goes, "The only reason you're not letting me swim is because you can't swim." That's what she said to me, or you guys can't swim. I said, I tell you what, we can swim better than you.
Yeah.
But my point is that and this is not an answer. This is just a question that I just throw out there. You know, where do we trash on their civil rights, but we protect them?
Right.
It's an interesting question.
It is a good question.
And that individual you're talking about, you know, pushes the envelope. But I had a guy, I saw somebody out there, same thing, but it was in June, and the water was in the 50s. And the guy was windsurfing back in those days. You know, had the sail, and it wasn't the kite, it was the wind. And I saw him out there, and then I didn't see him moving. Like, you know, he wasn't on top of the board, and I watched it, and I put the binos on, and he wasn't getting out of the water, and so I thought maybe he got hurt, and I called up headquarters, and I don't know who went out there. I don't know if it was Marine Police or Coast Guard. And what happened was the guy fell off his board, and it was so cold. You know, he fell off multiple times, and the wind was blowing. He got hypothermia. He couldn't hardly move. He was he was like almost frozen.
Like
we've gotten that before. Like December, we had a call of a guy and talk about, like, you know, if, you know, we get some people that are a little bit more agitated than others. You know, that he was windsurfing, you know, or kite surfing, you know, rather, with the, you know, big kite, everything. But it's like December. You know what I mean? It's like water's
cold.
cold. It's full, full suit, boots,
Right,
gloves, hood,
right, right,
kind of
right,
weather.
right.
And, it was like one of those things where we had to go out there because he just wasn't getting in. It was a hard south wind current, and south wind was blowing pretty good, south, southwest. And he was so pissed that, we had to come out there and we brought him all the way in because he was tangled in his equipment and couldn't swim.
Was he thanking you?
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he was not thanking us at the time. But after, we kind of after we brought him to the beach, because he was pissed because we had to cut all his lines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because all of us have, or majority of us that, rescue swim and this, that, whatever, we have a dive knife on our vest as well. So that way, for certain situations
Right.
like that, where if you have to, cut somebody out of their line or this, that, whatever, we have that option. So, yeah, he wasn't too happy at the time because we probably, I felt bad. We recovered his kite, everything like that, but we did cut a couple lines because we had to because he was so tangled up, this, that, whatever. But after we got him to the beach and he kind of took it in a little bit more perspective, and he was like, all right, yeah, dude, thanks.
I'll give you a good story, and you could archive this.
Yeah.
Years ago, people used to come down to the beach, and they would launch little boats. They come on like the Seaside Heights, or probably all over Ortley, little aluminum boats, and they would
Like the little rib kind of.
they're regular, aluminum.
Yeah.
Maybe a 10-foot. Maybe they could go down, and with a little tiny motor, and they go out and fish, and they do it at night. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And there's this one guy who he got out there. It was west wind, and his engine stalled. His anchor didn't work. I don't know if he had an anchor. He actually tried throwing tying the engine as to stop him.
Right.
He drifted all the way out into the shipping lanes, which is about 8 miles out. And how he got rescued is one of the tankers, supposedly some guy was out, having a cigarette and saw this knucklehead out there. I guess it was like the next day or whatever. I don't know how long he was floating out there.
Sure.
And they rescued him. You could look at that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you never think about stuff like that. And
No,
I
you
don't know if
really
they do that anymore, if anybody's doing that. Many people.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it in a while like that, at least.
But there used to be people come at night and launch boats and go out there. Now you got the kayaks.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go out there with the kayaks. And one thing about the kayaks, I used to have, I used to fish a lot. And I had a big Henrique, and I used to, that's when the kayaks used to be, started to come around.
Sure.
And I would go, a lot of times from the inlet, I'd go up towards Seaside Heights, and there's different wrecks out there, fishing,
Right.
reefs. And sometimes it'd be foggy. Now I would go slow, and I had radar, and I had my electronics, and I would go out at night. I would go out to the 30 miles out to the Fingers. But anyway,
To the canyons and stuff like that.
no, I never went to the
Or-
canyon. That's I'm not going. That's 100 miles out.
I was going to say, that's a long way.
That's too much.
Me and a
No.
couple of my buddies used to do that, man. It's a long
No.
way. 6,
But-
7 hours out there. Geez.
But what I used to worry about, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened, it'd be fog, and you slow down. You don't go more than 12 miles, 12 knots, But I had radar and everything, but I was always worried about running over a kayaker. Now I would stay out.
Yeah.
I would stay out a certain, distance, maybe a mile, 2 miles, and I figured there's no way there's going to be somebody out there. But when you get out there, and if you have some fog, like in June, coming in and out, or it gets dark. Or, one of these boats, when you've been on big boats, when they plane, you can't see ahead of you.
No.
And your radar may not pick it up. And I'm surprised we haven't seen somebody get killed, run over.
Especially in the Barnegat Bay, stuff like
Oh,
that, where you got paddle boarders, kayakers out all over the place.
People
you know
jet
what I mean?
skiing.
People jet skiing, you know what I mean? We've had our fair share of rescues with, in the bay with jet skiers colliding with each other. And, this, that, whatever. That's an ugly scene, you know what I mean? And that's something that's not pretty.
We
you know what I mean?
We used to, and I tell you another thing, because just talk about great stories and how water rescue. We would have a test in the ocean. We still, mostly now we did test in the pool. So you got to, like you guys, you got to swim 500 yards under 10 minutes. But back in the day, every June, we would have the test, first week in June, and you would swim out to a boat, about 200 yards, 300 yards out, and you would swim a rope can. And we would do it at the south end. And I remember, I could tell you personally, and I know I could tell you the guys who it happened to.
Right.
They're swimming out, and the pier is at Casino Pier, and a boat's coming from the north. You can't see it. They come and they catch the line. They go between the swimmer and the beach.
Oh, wow.
The one guy got pulled, and it cut his neck. He didn't die or anything, but it's finally snapped the rope.
Wow.
And his name was Kozakowski. And the other guy was, I think of his name, it happened twice.
Right.
And you never think about these things.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And then we had another time where you talk about these injuries and everything. Just to bring this up, because we're talking about crazy stuff, is we had one of our lifeguards on the jet ski. And you, I don't know if you, how long ago when you started doing this, but
Right.
the casino pier had a fishing pier. And there would be
Yes.
people fishing, all fishing lines out there.
Yeah.
And one of our, we had an incident on the other side of the beach. We only had one jet ski. So one of our officers was driving a jet ski from one side to the other. And you can't see those nylon lines.
Yep.
And it cut him. It caught him. And thank God he had a life vest on, because that stopped a lot of it. Remember, he cut
And
his
the radio around his neck.
and it cut his arm. Nice laceration.
Oh, wow.
It could have cut, if it hit him in the neck.
That, yeah, believe it or not,
Would've killed him.
actually,
Could've killed him.
That actually happened to me not too long ago.
oh,
Actually,
really?
Yeah, we were doing a drill on the beach, and we train a lot, like I said, in the impact zone, this, that, whatever. But we had a couple fishermen that actually came up right to like the north side of the pier,
Right.
and they had their lines pretty decently far out, and I just did not notice that they were even like fishing there or had their, because they were like off somewhere doing something, and they just had their poles in the ground. So I'm not really looking at the beach. I'm more looking at like what's in front of me, this, that, whatever. And I happened to like the line clothesline me.
Oh,
And it
my
started,
God.
I could feel it starting to drag, and I'm like, oh God. So I like cut the throttle and this, that, whatever. And I just had gotten the line and I threw it over me. Thank God. Cause I was like, I'm about to get ripped up from it. Like, cause it was only a matter of time before thank God I happened to catch the line and just throw it over really quick. But that could have been like, yeah.
And
like
what's-
if that just caught and then,
You can't,
everything else come around. Yeah.
and you know, most of the fishing line years ago was nylon. Now they have this thing called Daima. It's strong as steel.
I went to high school with a girl named Daima.
Yeah, well, this is yeah, and it's we call it spider wire, but we use it in the OR actually. It's fiber wire,
Right.
And it'll cut your neck right off.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But that's crazy stuff, you know. I mean that's
Oh, it'll happen. You know, it happens more than you think. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you just catch yourself off guard for 1 minute, and you're just like, oh man, like you got yourself in a shitty situation. You know?
yeah. Do you have any more questions?
I just, because I know you guys got a drill tonight.
Oh, dude,
right?
take
Yeah.
as much time as you
Yeah,
need. We
well,
got
we're going
plenty.
pretty.
We got plenty of time.
Well, for one, it's funny, like what you guys do, like so closely resembles what like the life-saving service was doing in like the late 1800s. The way that, you know, you get a call, then you come together, then you respond.
Sure.
It's almost the exact same system, just modernized.
Yeah, no rowboats.
Yeah, no
And
rowboats,
cork
no
life
Lyle gun, but,
cork life.
yeah, like where
vest.
you had the Lyle gun, now you have the can.
Chewing
where you
on
had
some
the,
whale blubber.
Where you had the boat, now you have the Zodiac, and you have the jet ski.
We're not sailing out on a big sailboat somewhere, you know, like.
Yeah. So the point being, like, we're in a constantly evolving game.
Sure.
And I know that your dad had the captain's position before you.
Correct. Yeah, he actually just made fire chief. He's the battalion chief now.
Oh,
The fire
shit.
department.
Congrats to him.
Yeah. So he's, you know, definitely props to him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but what I wanted to ask you was, what have you taken from him in terms of the way you do the job? And on top of that, like, what do you see for the future? What things might you take and change and modernize a little bit?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. To be honest with you, everything that I've learned in my life, whether it comes to surfing, anything that comes through the water, has all been taught by my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And he has structured it for me in the most amazing ways possible, so I can do the things that I do at such a young age. I'm only 23, you know what I mean? And I'm taking all of this information that he has started for me at such a young age. And like even my grandfather, his father, you know what I mean? Like, you know, he's instilled it in my dad, which then instills it into me. So, the everything that he has taught me to, respect the ocean, always know that the ocean's always going to win, and just teaching me, the disciplines of the ocean. He's done an amazing job with that through my whole entire life. And he still continues to do that to this day. Mm-hmm. And he still will always, you know, come up with something to teach us differently. And I'm still learning from him to this day. And he always has something different, whether it's him or my grandfather, because, he's just as, more like, he knows the ocean better than anybody. You know what I mean? So, and it's like, so it's always a constant learning curve for me, especially in situations. Things that I might want to take and modernize a little bit. That's a great question, actually. I actually never thought about it that way. Things I would like to just see, that's actually a good question. Like, I personally, like, when I came into the captain's position and, my ideas that I have is I want to be a little bit more proactive when it comes to, not so much more on rescues, but having my team train a little bit more than maybe just, 2-3 days a week.
Okay.
I would like to have more duty crews implemented.
Meaning?
So like duty crews, meaning like I would like to have designated days or picked days depending on like, how the swell is coming. If like, say if we know there's a swell coming and we have a lifeguard presence already, but we know that, like, maybe the lifeguards are understaffed, this, that, whatever. I would like to try to implement more of our presence on the beach and having it be like a, having more of a presence on the beach than just getting a call and going. I already kind of want to be on the beach before it even happens, because that's the one thing that we always say to each other is like, damn, like if we were on the beach right now, maybe we could have got that guy, or maybe we could have did this, or maybe we could have did that.
This is something I want to time in here, because this is an interesting thing. We talked about this before the show. You guys are all volunteer, right?
Correct.
So you guys all have other jobs.
Yeah.
So, but everybody's in town. So how much time? Like when you talk about this, I think it's a great idea what you're talking about.
Sure.
But how would you guys where would you carve out the time? Can you spend like 6 hours on the beach, or,
that's something that we would have to discuss with the crew.
Right.
See what their availabilities are. A lot of the guys that are on the water side are very dedicated to the water side.
Yeah.
So if we say, hey, listen, there's a big swell coming on Monday.
Yeah.
You think maybe after work we could all get to the firehouse and just hang out and wait and just have a crew ready to go.
Or be on the beach.
Yeah,
have a setup.
Yeah, or be on the beach.
This is why I said this. I think that, now the way things are coming and the expectation of the public and the, the crowds we're getting and how with the, like I said, with the expectation, I think we need to have it where we all work together. So you have police,
sure,
fire, and lifeguards, and we all coordinate it. And I think that is a really way to go, and not just after hours, but all the time.
Sure.
So you try to if the fire department or let's say the police department took it over, you could have a scheduling resources. Because we're all having, like for us, the lifeguards, I don't see any end in sight of us having a difficulty to get lifeguards.
Right.
Every beach is hurting. A lot of kids don't want to do it. A lot of kids don't. There's just a lot of reasons.
Sure.
And we're getting very young kids, but we need some maturity, and we also need interdiction. We have to have police.
Yes.
I don't want to become a police officer, but we need to have somebody who could. Unfortunately, people need to be arrested or fined or ticketed if they're not following the scenario. And then also, we need equipment. I mean, we can't have lifeguard. Like for me, we work 7, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. We start closing up at 7 o'clock. I mean, it's still light, and people are like, where are you going? So what are we going to do?
Right.
We're going to have coverage from 8. When does it get sunny? When does the sun come up in the summer?
6:30, 7 o'clock.
And there's people on the beach now. You could lock up everything, but if you want them on there, so theoretically you got to have coverage from 6 to maybe 9.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of coverage if you want to do that.
Coverage and a lot of
and
work.
You could say, let people go by themselves, but I agree with you. I think that all of us, and you're young, and you're the new trendsetter. I mean, you're going to make the decisions, and I think that's a good way to go. I like the idea that other towns are getting the fire department,
right?
But we all need to coordinate. And I love Timmy Hartman up there. They have what's it called? What's their
I can't remember. We talked to so many people on the show.
Yeah, they have
some acronym.
Yeah, they have, but they're ready to go, and they have a whole scenario. I think that's a great thing to do. As far as new equipment and everything, we had the C-Bob, which is interesting. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we got to test that out with you guys.
I hate that thing.
Yeah. But there's a lot of technologies out there. But I tell you what, all the technology in the world, you got to have people boots on the ground, basically.
1,000%.
And you got to be well trained. And the boat, the jet ski, the can. Interdiction. It's always better to close the barn door before the horse gets out,
right,
than chase the horse. So,
Yeah.
But I got a lot of. I'm excited, and I think the future is very bright for you. And I think you're gonna really help Seaside. Listen, we're the Yankees. I always say we
we went over this last week. We're the Blue Claws.
Oh, the Blue Claws. Miami's the Yankees. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jerry. Yeah, we're the Blue Claws. But we've been doing this for a long time.
We're Tom's River Little League.
Well, we've had the after hour rescues, and we our beach patrol. We run a tight ship. And we have thousands and thousands of people on the beach, and so you
guys do a great job down there in the Heights. You know what I mean?
We have our hands full. So,
yeah.
But that's
we learn on the job.
Yeah.
I think, I think technology is interesting. I think the jet skis has really have done a really unbelievable push the frontier of water rescue to a high level.
Yep.
And when we just got a new jet ski, the thing is huge. Problem is though, it's big, it's powerful, but it's heavy. To launch it's another issue.
100%, yeah.
And
I think we actually helped you guys out with getting the sleds on there. I think me and my dad attached the sled circuits for you guys. Yeah. It's a nice ski though.
Yeah. The problem with the ski, in my opinion, one of the problems is when it's a big shore break.
Yeah.
Or when the waves are coming in one after the other, after the other. And usually you don't have to,
That's what the run's for.
Yeah, but there's not even a run. I mean, it's so bad. But then there's usually nobody goes out that way. But the shore break is an issue. And, I think we got 2 brand new ones. I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you actually go on our Instagram page, Seaside Heights Fire Department, there is actually a few pictures of some previous rescues that we've had to deal with this summer and this, that, whatever, which is some pretty cool. There's some pretty cool, pictures with some, like you said, you were mentioning, like boats running aground, and all that kind of stuff before. There's a few pictures of there was a huge vessel down Island Beach called the Bear that got beached, and it was.
I think I heard about it. I remember that.
And we had to go out there, and we were helping the Coast Guard out, and so there's a few. Yeah, there's actually a few pictures of some stuff that we got into. It's
crazy. I was going to say something. Look at here, we got the pictures here.
Oh yeah. That was the that's the polar bear plunge this year.
That's the last time we caught up with you. Right
yeah. That was a great event. Everything worked out fantastically.
But Nick, now I know why. I pass by that station sometime, and there's shit thrown all over the place, like fire coats, boots, and I'm like, it looks like a mess. I thought maybe you're having them out drying out there.
Yeah.
And what it was is you guys were probably going on another rescue.
Yeah, probably.
Why don't you
tell us about that?
Right here?
Oh yeah. So that's
the Bear.
Yeah,
wow.
That's the Bear. We get there, and I really don't know how that happened, to be honest with you. But they ran aground. And it was just
we're not gonna say anything.
So for the listeners, we've got what's that, like a 75-foot fishing vessel?
Yeah, probably like a 5-man vessel.
In about ankle deep water.
Yeah, and that was a all-night situation. We actually went home for a couple hours and came back first thing in the morning to ripping south swell.
Now you got everybody off. Like, did they, when you got there, were they off already, or
they actually stayed on the boat? We offered to get them off, but they said, "Listen, we're gonna hang out. We're just gonna kind of hang out through the night, this, that, whatever." And we were like, "Okay." They secured the ship. We secured the ship, and pretty much Island Beach State Park stayed out with it all night, and then we were back first thing in the morning to try to,
how'd they get it off?
That's a wild scene.
They towed it out, because I think a big barge came, like a 100 and something foot barge came, and they ran a whole bunch of line to it, and then we had to attach the line. We had to launch a couple skis, and get this huge line. And I'm talking like it's like thick. Like I've never seen rope so thick. And we attached it to the bear, and it was a whole scenario. But that was pretty crazy. There's actually another one in there too of a like 2 nights before that, there was a sailboat that the engines cut out, and they ran aground in South Seaside Park. And we actually ended up going to get them. We rescued them off the vessel, which was nice. And then
That's this one right here.
yeah, that's that one. Yeah, it that was a pretty decent rescue. And I think if actually click out of that and then go to there's another picture of us getting the crew off the ship.
The siesta.
Yeah, the siesta.
He wasn't having much of a siesta that day.
No, yeah, I felt bad for the guy.
You know what's crazy when I look at these pictures, I always bring up the life-saving service, but what's cool about how it's evolved is like, you said, where was it? For these guys, right? You left the boat out there overnight and then came back.
Sure.
If this was in the 1800s, like you're in a race against the clock until that boat gets broken up by the surf.
Oh yeah. That's what happened. That's what happened to the sailboat.
Okay. You could tell it's like a little.
Oh yeah. If we didn't get them off, it would have been a bad day for them.
That thing's beat up.
By the time we got everybody off and this, that, whatever, by the next morning, that boat didn't even look like a sailboat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like fiberglass everywhere.
Yeah, with that other boat, the Bear, I'm surprised that it didn't destroy the rudders and the shafts and the propellers, and it was still seaworthy.
Yeah.
I mean, did they have divers there to check it out? I mean, I'm surprised.
I don't really know. I think they got it out of the water, this, that, whatever, and then so it was like
I bet their rudders.
Right here.
Yeah, that's back in the day.
Yeah.
That's like
Wow.
Oh yeah.
The OGs.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, that's 1913.
1913.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's the Seaside Fire Department.
This is you right here, Catchmore. This one.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
crazy.
That was when the fire department was on like Ocean Terrace.
Look how short that one guy is. Holy smoly, he's a little. Yeah, but I didn't know I never seen that picture before. That's amazing.
Yeah.
1913. I think the Beach Patrol started. When did the Beach Patrol start? What year was that?
30.
Was it 30? No, it was 20s.
1934.
Oh wow.
Is that what it was?
Okay.
Yep. 1934.
Yeah.
Well, that's some great pictures. People should go check our our Facebook and our YouTube.
Yeah.
But listen, Nick, we're growing. We're almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
it's
good.
been
Time
great.
flies.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
It was
Real
really
quick, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
For and just to reiterate, for anybody who's listening, that
Yes.
maybe find themselves in a situation where they're toying with the idea of swimming in an unguarded ocean. What do you have to say to them?
Have your understanding of it, because it's one of those things where if you don't have a great understanding of the ocean, maybe just get halfway in, maybe take a quick dip and get out. You know what I mean? Because that ocean always wins at the end of the day.
Go to YMCA pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll come watch you swim with the
Always
Y.
have a lifeguard. Here's what we say, Nick.
Always have a lifeguard.
Always swim with a lifeguard.
Yeah.
That's
Stay
it.
out, stay alive.
Yeah.
We didn't even have to tell him.
No. Always go with a lifeguard, and that's a great thing. And Nick, listen, you guys are, first of all, you're volunteering, which is amazing.
Sure.
And you're getting out there, but you're saving people's lives. There's nothing else more rewarding in life than to save somebody's life. And so,
that's what keeps you going.
you join the club. We're all in that club. It doesn't matter, doctor, lifeguard, fire, whatever. You're cop. You're saving somebody's life, so it's a great thing. And your father, you guys have.
Yeah.
I can just tell you right now, from my perspective, all the years it's been very all professional. And I've been there. I started working there in 76, 77.
Sure.
So I don't, I've known a lot of the people, and we've always known when we leave that you guys are there, and
100%.
and so it's good. So, and I think we have a great future ahead of us. So
Yeah, you got to get the old man in here for an episode.
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna bug him real bad.
But Nick, we get him in here, and this is, we could be the ones who forge, more of collaboration between everybody. This is how it happens.
Absolutely.
That's why I started the show.
Oh, I love it.
We're pushing it because there's we have people in here, and we're putting the conversation out.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, about this whole thing. We're all family.
Yeah.
You know, we're all in the
Yeah.
same trade together. We're
Yeah.
all family, and that's what
Yeah.
we need to keep on
Yeah.
reiterating to
Yeah.
everybody, that we're all family at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're going to be here for everybody at the end of the day.
Well,
And
Nick,
that's never
but
going to change.
I agree with you 100%. So listen, we're going to give him why you want to tell everybody, can you just give everybody our contact stuff?
Yeah.
How about doing that real quick? So everybody wants to get a hold of us, you could, not the call, but how about the email? You could email us at drkachmar@icloud.com. That's drkachmar@icloud.com. You get us on Instagram at LG Association. And you could also get us on Jersey Shorefront Lake Center. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. And that's Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Katchmar. Now, look, which one is me, Nick?
Oh, wow.
Wait. Show them. Go. They pulled this picture up. Look at that right there.
This
Nice.
is
That's me right there. That
This
was-
is courtesy of Rusty Silverman.
Yeah.
Rusty, if you're listening,
That's
we
Dr.
appreciate this.
That's
Nice.
Dr. Katchmar right there on
That's
the.
awesome.
That's me. That's
Adam thought that this was Skip. That's
No.
a big compliment to you.
No, that's me. That's
That's
me.
awesome. That's a great picture.
No, that's what do you call it? Bob Tremolin. He was ripped, man.
Oh, Bob Tremolin.
Yeah. Show the other one too. I got one more there. Show Joe Casino. This is another icon right here. Let me show you. This is the other picture. Joe and right here. This is Joe Casino, Lavalette lifeguard.
Yep.
He's like unbelievable. And that individual next to him is Rod. What's his name? I'm so sorry, Rod. And he is the former captain of the Atlantic City Beach Patrol.
Okay,
That
yeah.
guy is an icon.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, they're like 5 Seaside Heights beach
Yeah.
patrols.
Oh, yeah. I
So
give
those
Atlantic
two
City
people
a-
right there, there's 2 legends right there.
That's
so
great.
we want to say goodbye to everybody. So Nick, can you tell us, give us the stay out and stay alive
Oh,
one more
yeah.
time?
Stay out, stay alive.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Oh, we're doing a little
Yeah, fade out.
fade out. All right. Well, finish it up and let's get out of here.